Steelers Nation, this team is constantly working to sharpen up, to push harder, and to find ways to bring you results that match the expectations of the city of Pittsburgh. And while we're sitting here enjoying a 3-1 start and first place in the AFC North, we've also got to keep it real about what's happening inside this roster. Before I break this story down, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button right now. It really helps spread the word across Steeler Nation and keeps this channel rolling strong. The Steelers go into the bye week in a good spot record-wise, but let's not ignore the obvious. This roster is getting banged up. The secondary is held together with tape, and now the wide receiver room has been dealt another blow. Calvin Austin III is dealing with a shoulder injury that will sideline him for a few weeks. Now the good news, it's not as bad as it could have been. At first, there was concern it might be a collarbone issue, which could have been season-ending. But still, this is a huge hit for a WR group that was already razor-thin. And here's the reality. Pittsburgh can't just keep hoping guys stay healthy. At some point, Omar Khan has to do what Omar Khan does best: get aggressive, get creative, and get reinforcements. Here's where things get really spicy. A name being thrown into the conversation is none other than Tyreek Hill. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's break this down. Miami gave Hill a monster contract when they acquired him, but the way that deal was structured means the back end is full of non-guaranteed money. He's owed $29.9 million in base salary plus a $5 million roster bonus in March, and another $1.1 million in workout and per-game bonuses. That's a whole lot of money. But Miami is sitting at 0-3 heading into Week 4, and tensions are high. Hill himself dropped some pretty telling comments at the end of last season, saying he was basically out of here. Since then, it's felt like the relationship between him and the organization has been rocky, to say the least. Now, if you saw Hill against the Bills a couple of weeks ago, you know this man still has it. He's still one of the most electric, game-changing weapons in the entire league. You can double him, triple him, and he still finds a way to burn you. For Pittsburgh, this would be a bold move. It would be Omar Khan saying, "We're not just happy being 3-1, we're going for it. We're pushing all our chips into the middle of the table." And here's the ticker. The Steelers wouldn't even be responsible for his entire salary this season. Because of how Miami structured his deal, Pittsburgh would only be on the hook for the prorated portion of his $10 million base salary in 2025. That's manageable. Let's be real, Steelers fans. Without Calvin Austin, the WR depth chart is hanging by a thread. DK Metcalf has been phenomenal. He's the #1 guy we hoped he'd be. George Pickens? He's shown flashes, but he's inconsistent and still maturing into his role. After that, the drop-off is steep. You can't go into the meat of the season with Rodgers at QB fighting for a playoff spot and not give him enough weapons. That's football malpractice. Tyreek Hill would not only give Rodgers another lethal option, but he would instantly make defenses play Pittsburgh completely differently. Imagine trying to cover Hill and Metcalf on the same field. That's a nightmare for any defensive coordinator. Now, let's talk about the flip side, because we've got to be fair. Hill is expensive beyond 2025. The Steelers would either have to restructure his deal, extend him, or potentially cut bait after 1 year. That means this isn't a safe move. It's an all-in move. But isn't that exactly what this franchise should be doing with Rodgers? He's 42 in December. You brought him here to win now, not to rebuild, not to play it safe. So to me, this is the definition of a no-brainer. You get Hill, you give Rodgers the tools he needs, and you worry about 2026 later. Now, while we're talking about moves Omar Khan might need to make, let's give some love to what's already happening inside the building. Nick Herbig, Steelers Nation, this guy has been a revelation. With Alex Highsmith sidelined the past 2 weeks, Herbig has stepped in and played like a man possessed. Against Minnesota in Dublin, he had 1.5 sacks, 3 QB hits, and played a career-high 66 snaps. Week 3 against New England, 4 pressures, 4 QB hits, and a sack. This isn't a fluke. Even dating back to his rookie year, Herbig has shown flashes. Injuries slowed him down in 2024, but now that he's healthy, he looks like the perfect complement to TJ Watt. Now the scary thing is, when Highsmith returns, there's no way you can just put Herbig back on the bench. He's earned a bigger role. The Steelers need to figure out how to keep him on the field, because right now, he's a game changer. Sure, the Pittsburgh Steelers took care of business on the field, grinding out a tough 24-21 win over the Minnesota Vikings and heading into the bye week with a strong 3-1 record. But behind the X's and O's, behind the stats, there was a deeper story. And it started with head coach Mike Tomlin. According to TJ Watt, Tomlin gave an emotional pregame speech dedicated to none other than the late Steelers owner and former U.S. ambassador to Ireland, Dan Rooney. This wasn't just about football. It was about family, heritage, and legacy. Watt told ESPN's Brooke Pryor after the game, "Mike T last night gave a speech on the importance of the Rooney family here in Ireland and Mr. Rooney, his ambassadorship here, and how important this game means to their family. We definitely had a chip on our shoulder." Think about that for a second. You've got a locker room full of young players, many of whom weren't even in the NFL when Dan Rooney passed away in 2017. But through Tomlin's words, they understood just how much this game would have meant to him, and they carried that emotion onto the field. Now let's be clear, this wasn't a flawless performance by the Steelers. As Tomlin himself said after the game, "We made it a little more entertaining than maybe it should have been." But the Vikings had a lot to do with that. That group has a lot of fight. They're well coached. Still, the defense once again stood tall, led by, you guessed it, TJ Watt and Nick Herbig, who has been a breakout star filling in for the injured Alex Highsmith. 6 sacks, 14 QB hits, and constant disruption made life miserable for Carson Wentz all afternoon.
But maybe the bigger story? For the first time this season, we saw signs of life in the running game. Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren finally started moving the ball with consistency, giving this offense a much-needed spark. So while there's still plenty to clean up, penalties, offensive line breakdowns, and injuries, the Steelers went into their bye week with a winning record and momentum. Emotional fuel for the rest of the season. What's fascinating here is how much this game could shape the rest of the Steelers' season. Emotional moments like Tomlin's speech don't just fade away after the final whistle. They create unity, motivation, and a sense of purpose that can last for weeks, even months. This wasn't just about beating the Vikings. It was about honoring Dan Rooney, honoring tradition, and reminding this team of the standard they represent. And let's be honest, Mike Tomlin has always been a master motivator, but this might have been one of his most powerful pregame speeches yet. So here we are, Steelers fans. You've got a 3-1 football team. You've got Rodgers playing efficient ball. You've got a defense starting to find its groove with Watt, Herbig, and Benton wreaking havoc. And now you've got a glaring hole at wide receiver. This is where Omar Khan earns his paycheck. Do you roll the dice and make a blockbuster trade for Tyreek Hill? Or do you patch things up with a smaller move, hope Calvin Austin comes back healthy, and trust Rodgers to carry the load? One thing is for sure, this bye week is no vacation for the Steelers front office. So Steelers Nation, here's the bottom line. Calvin Austin's injury has created a huge decision point for Omar Khan. Does he go out and swing big for a superstar like Tyreek Hill, or does he stay conservative and hope the roster holds up? For me, this is an easy call. You've got Rodgers, you've got Watt, you've got a defense that's heating up, and the AFC looks more vulnerable than it has in years. If there was ever a time to make a bold move, it's now. But what do you think? Should the Steelers go all in and trade for Tyreek Hill, or should they stay the course and trust the roster as it is? Drop your opinions in the comments below, because I know this fan base is going to have some passionate takes on this one. And before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a second of Steelers coverage. We'll be right here breaking it all down for you every step of the way. Steelers Nation, buckle up. Things are about to get very interesting.